Hi everybody, it's time for your farm and ranch news. Well, President Trump's trade policies continue to dominate the headlines. And here at the Wyoming Cattle Industry Convention in Laramie, NCBA Executive Director of Government Affairs Kent Bacus told cattle producers here that there's a huge difference between President Trump and former President Biden's trade agenda.
Yeah, when you look at the last 4 years under President Biden, there were a lot of press releases. There were a lot of, very positive things that were said, and a lot of press conferences with other countries, but not a lot of action when it comes to opening markets. With President Trump, he said on day one, "Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to get to work." And now he's actively negotiating with 30 countries to improve access, not only for U.S. beef, but for a lot of U.S. agriculture. That's just not something we saw under the Biden administration.
He says there's a lot riding on these trade deals and that it's a risk worth taking.
It is a fast time on trade policy. We know that it is a big gamble, but it is a risk worth taking because all of our competitors are out there securing competitive market access in emerging markets. The U.S. has been sitting on the sidelines. Well, we're not on the sidelines anymore.
And he explains why trade and these export markets are so important to the U.S. beef cattle industry.
When you look at exports, exports still represent a relatively small part of our overall production. About 85% of what we produce is going to be consumed right here in the U.S. But that 15%, a lot of those are cuts that Americans are just not looking for at the grocery store or at restaurants. And we're able to sell those in Asia and Latin America, and that adds $415 per head. So that's significant. And when that means that those carcasses are more profitable, that means that those cattle in the feedlots are more profitable, and those profits flow all the way back to the cow-calf operation. We need more global consumers competing for U.S. beef, and that improves the bottom line for everybody in the supply chain. Meanwhile, as President Trump's trade war continues with key trading partners like Canada, China, and Mexico, the USDA is now projecting no improvement in the U.S. agricultural trade outlook for fiscal 2025 as the department lowered its forecast this week for livestock product exports, offsetting increases for grains and oilseeds.